Good morning once again. As I told you, if there's one thing we do not get wrong here at Art and Culture Monday is the kind of guests that we bring you. And today we are here to speak on a serious issue. Like I have told you before in the previous links, we are discussing freedom of expression. And the question is the government infringing on our freedom of expression? Individually, as a group, on any manner, do you feel like the government is interfering, especially as artists? Do you feel like the government is interfering with your freedom of expression? With me, I have a gentleman and a lady on set. Good morning.
Good morning.
One of them is from Freedom of Expression. The gentleman is from Freedom of Expression. And the lady is from Good Pitch Kenya. I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself because I feel you're heavy people. That is not good. Yes, but go ahead. This is your camera.
Okay. So my name is Ken Kigunda. Yes. I'm the communication and PR consultant for Freedom of Expression campaign.
Yes.
Freedom of Expression campaign is whereby we work with a group of artists, the Creative Economic Working Group, just trying to advance the conversation about artistic freedom. Yes. And this began when way back because of the curtailment that we've seen in Kenya happening. And so we decided, as artists came together, decided we need to create a movement that will be able to protect and safeguard the freedoms that are in the Constitution for them to be able to create good work and to be able to have a freer space for them to express themselves. Yes. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's what we do. Yes. Just with other institutions, NGOs in the civil society and other civil society organizations who are advancing the conversation on how we can get a more creative space to allow people to imagine, to allow people to create content that will be consumed by the public.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Cindy?
My name is Cindy Mbaye. I am the production manager of Good Pitch Kenya 2020. And Good Pitch is a live event that brings together documentary filmmakers and leading change makers in issues around social and environmental issues. And once they're brought together, then it's for the good of the film and for the good of the society. Yes. So Good Pitch is a global event, and since 2007, there have been about 40 Good Pitch programs that have taken place in 15 countries all over the world. So this will be the second time the Good Pitch event is happening in the country and within the East African region, and it will be in October.
Yes, it will be in October. Yes. We will get to that conversation because we need to start somewhere so that we can link it up to Good Pitch. Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
In layman's terms, what is freedom of expression? Because all we learned is it is in the Constitution
and the jargons and all these
exactly.
Other words.
So in layman's terms, what is freedom of expression?
So freedom of expression, in simple words, is to be able to imagine, to be able to interpret the world in your own imagination, in your own ways. In most cases, you find people, for example, artists, they have this great imagination and they draw the world in their own way and in their own interpretation, and how they navigate into that interpretation and how then these changes the way we live as a society. Yes. So being able to sing, being able to speak, being able to do spoken word, being able to make a choice, for example, even saying I would join this course, being able even to speak out, that is freedom of expression. Yeah. So even that mama mboga pale kwa kibanda and saying that we need our rights and we need to be able to sell at this particular time, at this particular spot. Yes. That is freedom of expression. Being able, even when you write a t-shirt with a meaning and you feel like this is what I'm speaking about, that's you expressing yourself in a way. So everyone in every daily routine expresses themselves in a way. Yes. So everyone, freedom of expression affects each and every person in almost daily basis. And so that's how I can explain it in very simple terms.
So it is just basically being given a platform or permission to speak your mind without being... Exactly.
And it can be speaking, it can be drawing, it can be through acting, it can be through stage act, it can be through producing a film, it can be through a documentary, it can be through so many other things. It can be through even sitting down and not speaking. It can be through chaining yourself like Okeo Mutata did. You're expressing yourself in a way. It can be through even spoken word. So it's quite diverse on how it depends with how you want to express yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course, to what limits you can express yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And before we get into the discussion, under
Yeah.
what circumstances can someone or a group be denied the right to freedom of expression lawfully?
Lawfully,
Yes.
if you incite,
Yes.
if you cause harm to other people, or even the product or the productions that you're doing are causing harmful to people.
Yes.
Of course, if you're abusive, I mean, if there are those limits that you really cannot push beyond. And I always tell people, when you feel your rights begins and ends where someone else's right begins.
Yes.
So you always need to know the limits of your rights to other person's right. So as long as you're not intruding to people's privacy, as long as you're not revealing people's private information, as long as you're not causing body harm or any harm to people, then again, when you do those things, then lawfully, action can be taken against you.
Yes, which means you have to take care that your freedom of expression does not affect someone's freedom of expression.
Any rights.
Yes.
Your rights should not affect other people's rights.
Right.
So you always ought to know where your rights begins and where your rights ends.
Exactly.
It's where I always say where my rights ends, it's where someone else's rights begin.
Exactly.
So you need always to be aware of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that there is need, especially in this country, in East Africa, in Africa? Why do you feel there is need for freedom of expression?
Well, historically, we've seen it freedom of expression being curtailed a lot in this country from when Ngugi wa Thiong'o was doing a play called Omari When I Want, Gaikia Deda.
Yes.
So from those times when, from the colonial times, from back then when they are trying to express on issues affecting the society and the community, there was that curtailment. To now, where we are seeing some production like Rafiki being banned.
Yes.
And so and we've seen so many production, especially where they go against the authority of powerful people. Again, we see people saying, hey, this is too much, we need to curtail it, we need to ban it, because it's speaking out truth to the power.
Yes.
And so this curtailment has been there continuously and has been increasing over and over time.
Yes.
And there's a need of, being able now to protect and safeguard freedom of expression, because if we miss on this and if we allow this freedom of expression to be curtailed, then we will not be able to tell our stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That brings me to Cindy on Good Pitch. Cindy, why did you feel the need to join hands with freedom of expression?
Good Pitch stands in solidarity with independent filmmakers, and we work to protect their independence and bring them new friendships and allies all over the world.
Yes.
So with Good Pitch, we work with documentary filmmakers. So just to mention, Good Pitch is hosted by DocuBox, which is the East African Documentary Film Fund, and I mentioned in partnership with Doc Society and the Kenya Film Commission. So in Good Pitch, we deal with documentary filmmaking, and documentary filmmaking deals with real issues that are happening within our society. Yes. And Good Pitch deals with these urgent issues of social and environmental, the issues that will bring around change in social and environmental topics. So how we work is we put out a call for documentary filmmakers who have their documentaries in advanced stages of production. So if there's a documentary filmmaker out there who has started filming an issue, has identified an issue in the society and within their own society, and in this case, Good Pitch 2020 deals is in making a call within East Africa, that is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda. And so if a documentary filmmaker has a film that they've been following or that they've been recording and it's in production, then they are allowed to apply for it. And once we receive the submissions, then we select about 6 films. And these 6 films are going to go through an impact lab, and they're going to go through guidance on how to shape their stories so that these stories can make the impact that they are meant to make within the society. And from that, then it leads to the live event that I mentioned. And this live event, then we will have invited various people people from different organizations. And I'll give an example of 2016, which was the first Good Pitch event that happened in Kenya. And it was held at the Kenya National Theatre.
Yes.
And there were in the audiences, there were 267 individuals from 13 countries and 161 organizations who came together to lend a hand and also support the 6 films that were being pitched on this day.
Yeah.
So these individuals that are invited for this Good Pitch event will hail from different sectors of the civil society.
Yes.
So they will come from corporations, they'll come from the media, they will come from NGOs, they will come from brands, they will come, they will be policy makers,
yes.
Different organizations. So once they identify an issue that they want to support, then they come on board and they bring in their expertise.
Yeah, so simply freedom of expression lets these filmmakers be able to express themselves using their film in a way that is not limited.
Exactly.
And a good example of Good Pitch, as Sidi said, back in 2016, there is one film that really made an impact. It's called Thank You for the Rain. Thank You for the Rain, it's a movie of, it's called Kisilu Musia. He's a farmer in Kitui, Mtomo.
Yes.
And he was able to do this film that about for 5 years, and he was tracking the seasons of the seasons every 5 years, each and every year.
Yes.
And within this, he was able to produce a documentary with the help of Good Pitch.
Yes.
And this documentary went ahead and made a huge impact. You can imagine this farmer who was just behind the scenes, just using his phone and be able to document what is happening in his society. And he was able to produce this quite an impactful movie that went to global. And he has been able to speak to many forums in the UN, TED Global. And the amazing thing about this project or about this film is that it was able to bring an impact to his community. And there was a construction of a dam, an earth dam, that has over 3,000 water cubic meters. And with these, of course, it stayed for a while, but Thank You for the Rain last year, December, when Nairobians were busy complaining, it was helping somewhere else.
No, it was actually helping.
It was actually helping in Motomo Kitui. Now the dam is full.
Wow.
So they're using it to plant, they're using it to, plant trees, to do farming, and it has been able to transform the entire society, the entire community.
Yes, which would not have happened if this farmer was not given a platform.
Exactly.
Able to express through freedom of expression, and given a platform by Good Pitch to actually do that.
Exactly. And this is just the phase 1 of that project. So there'll be other more dams to be dug because of this one movie, because of this one film documentary. And apart from that, it goes now even to schools. Is been able to induct people to climate change and how they can use technology and filmmaking, documentary, storytelling to be able to create such a huge impact that we've seen. Thank You for the Rain bringing on board.
Yes, amazing. We're going to be seeing that trailer in our movie trailer of the day, to support our Kenyan-made films and be able to see through them. So you're going to be getting a chance to see that later in the show. Do not go anywhere. What are some of the main focuses of freedom of expression? What exactly are you focused on?
So our major call is the repeal or amendment of the Film and Stage Act Play Act, CAP 222, and the Kenya Film Classification Board laws that govern 2012 that govern the entire industry, the film industry, because we feel there's some undertones of colonial in it, because this document was developed back in 1962.
Exactly. And that was my other question. Is this the reason? Would some of the reasons for this caps be that because they were made they were written a long time ago?
And the only revision that was done and was quite minor was back in 2012.
Yes.
And so we are just calling and asking, in the spirit of the constitution that we have, which is quite progressive, and the 2010 constitution, we're just calling and saying that, hey, we need to look at this law. There are those good parts, but of course now there are other major parts that really needs a lot of a look into it.
Yes.
For example, for a Kenya filmmaker to be able to produce any particular film, they have to get a license.
Yes.
So, and this license comes with a cost. And you can imagine with the times of the economic times we are in, not so very many people can really afford
and
this.
I believe also production cost is already there.
It's already there. And so all those brought together, not so very many filmmakers can be able to do that. And again, once you get this license, then there are those terms that are in it and conditions that you have to follow.
Yes.
And these conditions are determined by the licensing officer at that particular point. So, and you're not really explained and expounded to you, and you might not even understand when you're beginning a film.
Yes.
Well, that's part of it. Again, where it comes even more interesting, it's whereby this officer can be able to deny you a license, and they have the obligation not to even explain to you why they have denied you a license.
Yes.
So that means, again, there's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of curtailment when it comes. You have to really follow all these procedures, and by the time even you're making your film, that idea has gone.
Exactly. So and especially because production is timing.
It's
There are
timing,
some of these
exactly.
Topics we need to talk about need timing.
So the process is long, and for these, the most interesting part is that officer as well, there must be a police officer during the production of a particular film or even a documentary. You must have a police officer or someone of equal authority.
For what reason, as they say?
They can intervene in between the production and say, this movie is going to cause harm, it endangers people's life, and for this reason they confiscate all your equipment, and with that they can even arrest. And in this particular, we really feel, why should you have an armed police officer in a set where people are making film and documentary? It's artistic.
Exactly.
So what harm artists can do really to people?
I'm even thinking sometimes we need props, we need gun props, but we know they are props. And even before they give you that license, shouldn't they have gone through what you're producing? Already,
because you submit a script.
Exactly.
And they have to approve the script before even you go to production. And if, interesting thing is that once they submit that script, then it means you will go per the script. Even changing when moving a seat from the set to another location, or even changing maybe intonation. You know, there's some words that you might say, you might pronounce in a different way or even react to a certain word in a different way. When you change those things, then it means you have to go back again to KFCB, Kenya Film Classification Board, for them to approve again the script for you to go on with the production. So it's a whole tedious process. And they can also, whenever if there's an issue with the film, they can arrest each and every person in that production. So again, we always say, why can't you then deal with the producer as opposed to artists? So we feel there are so many laws that are in the KUTV, that is the Kenya, that is the Film and Stage Play Act, Act of Kenya Constitution 2000 and there's the KFCB, Kenya Film Classification Laws that were revealed in 2012 that we really need to sit down and have a conversation. We're in the mood of BBI. Building Bridges Initiative. Why can't we also now sit down as artists and contribute into this matter and say, together with the government authority that is responsible for this, and say, we need to have a look, and this contribution needs to come from the artists themselves. They are the ones in the industry. They are the ones affected by this law. So any formulation of the law, they should be involved equally, and consultation needs to be done widely for us to be able to come with a very progressive Film and Stage Play Act, or even a more broader thing, because the Creative Economic Working Group has given their recommendations, but these recommendations have never seen the light of the day. And yet they're the people affected by these laws.
Cindy, do you think artists are ready to come together to actually make sure that this has, as a person who works with them, do you think that they are ready to actually come together and see this through?
I think they are, because I've seen that people are coming to work together. There are conversations that are going on the ground where filmmakers meet regularly to discuss issues around film and also to discuss creativity matters. And I think it's something that is happening.
It's actually going to work.
Already there is a group, the Creative Economic Working Group, that works, it comprises of artists. It has organizations and institutions that deal with artists and entertainment and creativity and all this work that pertains to that. So this conversation has been there. Artists have always called for a change. I've always called for a repeal of this particular act. So artists are ready and creatives are ready. So
they just need someone like freedom of expression to push this idea to actually see the light of day. As artists, the artists you have related with, do you feel like is there a way for them to think that they can abuse this freedom of expression?
Well, in any scenario, there are those limits people push sometimes, and we've seen some of them being pushed to some limits, but we always try and tell artists, please be within the law.
Yes.
Please always mind about the other person. I mean, this applies to every Kenyan.
Yes.
Please never go above the law, as usual. Never take the law
yes.
onto your hands. And also, always mind the other person. When you're producing something, you always have to think, who is my consumer?
Yes.
And then when you think on those levels, then you're producing something for them, and you need to know what do they like. I mean, there's always that aspect of research when you're doing a production, may it be film, may it be music, may it be a documentary, may it be a movie. Everything has their target audience. And so the moment you know your target audience and the moment you know where their limits are, then you can be able to go according to that.
Before we talk about Good Pitch 2020, because my producer is telling me my time is up, there is a very big relationship, like we talked before the interview, that when you talk about freedom of expression, Kenyans especially have narrowed that down to sexual expression, to LGBT community, but it is so broad. Could you, like, in a minute, just tell them that freedom of expression is a big umbrella and not just one specific thing? Freedom
of expression, the reason why it's even in the Constitution, enshrined in the 2010 Constitution, is because it affects a wider, a quite wider spectrum. And if you look at it in the aspect that even a kid being able to select a choice, to be able to say, hey, I want to be a musician, I want to be a doctor, I want to be they're expressing themselves. Let me give you a very simple context. It's whereby when a kid or a child is born, the first expression they do is cry.
Yes.
So they tell the world, I've arrived, and the world knows that this kid, they have a right now to express themselves through the cry. So these affects across the spectrum. It doesn't only limit to a certain community. It's not about a community. It's not about an individual. It affects each and every Kenyan, and even globally, each and every person. Because it's not only in the Kenyan Constitution. It's also in the international laws. Like the UDHR, which is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's one of the Article 19 of the UDHR. So it's a very wide thing that affects each and every person who is living in America, who is living in Kenya, who is living in Taiwan. So it's to all levels, social strata. Umbrella. It's from the Mama Mboga to even the president himself up there. Amazing. Good Pitch Films, you have done a number of films. I just want you to tell us about them and about Good Pitch 2020 specifically.
Okay, so there were 6 films that came out of Good Pitch 2016. And those were 4 from Kenya. There was Thank You for the Rain. There is The Letter by Maya and Chris, which premiered at IDFA. There is The Truth, which is still in post. And there is Trukana. And then there was a film from South Africa and a film from Sierra Leone. So these films dealt with various issues that are that affect the society. And as he mentioned, I mean, we are using Thank You for the Rain as an example because this is a film that has already created the impact in that society. So for 2020, the call for applications is already out, and it closes on 29th of February. So the call is for filmmakers within East Africa who have their films in advanced stages of production, and they just need to go to the portal www.mydocubox.org, and you will find all the eligibility criteria, which is basically very simple. So you submit a teaser or a 10-minute key sequence of your film, and a synopsis and a logline, and also the producers and the director's bio.
Amazing. So assuming they passed, what do you do for them?
Okay, so once they go through the selection, there will be a selection that takes place, and we will pick out 6 films as well. So these 6 films will go through something that we call an impact lab, where they will go through shaping their stories in order for these stories to be ready to create the impact that the topics are focusing on. And also we have other programs that run parallel to that, where there's an outreach director who will go to various organizations and various individuals and bring them on board to support the films. So once all these people show the interest in the film, then they're invited to the live event where the filmmakers will now pitch to the audiences, and then they bring in a lot of expertise in terms of finances, in terms of also their knowledge on that specific topic. They also open doors and they take you to policymakers who will make a decision on how things, or maybe change an aspect of how things are done within that area.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Finally, Kenneth, how can artists, because we are here to speak about artists, how can artists participate in the freedom of expression? And then after that, I want you to give us your social media handles, the social media handles for freedom of expression, and how people can simply join in the movement.
Well, the way artists can participate in this is by producing candid and brave work of them, like we saw Kinkaka do the other time, and speak to the social ills of the community that's affecting the community or the constituencies that they're serving, as well as they can join through the movement and come and be part of the creative economic working group that is quite encompasses so many other individuals and organizations and institutions that believe in this call. And as well, we are always on social media by free to express. Ama to G-Express.
So to G-Express and free to express is the way to join in this movement. Of course, artists, go ahead and produce candid pieces that can speak to people, that can speak to real issues. Exactly. So final words, just invite people to Good Pitch 2020, and then we will close.
Yeah, I mean, the hashtag for Good Pitch is hashtag Good Pitch KE 2020. And we're calling on filmmakers, documentary filmmakers, to send in their applications, and and also organizations that are willing to come on board and also be a part of this filmmaking and also be a part of change. To also be on the lookout on what projects that we're going to select for 2020.
Wow, thank you so much. So as you have heard, I think I want to speak to artists out there, the organizations who are willing to fund and to support your production. There are organizations like FOE who are willing to actually fight for your production as long as it is worth the fight. So go on and produce good content that is consumable and that is rejuvenating to the country and to everyone at large. Thank you so much for joining me. This was an incredible discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we will be right back with Ken Kimani Mugo. We are of course going to be talking artistic matters and see what artists are actually out there doing. Do not go anywhere. This is Art and Culture Monday.